Hello everyone. Today I want to make a video on an issue which has been bothering me for some while now, and that's actually people's preference to original 24 FPS content. And some people actually turning off the image processing in terms of the extra added frames versus the original 24 FPS content. And in my opinion, like you're seeing right now, the added frames are removed and the TV is now displaying the original 24 FPS video content. And what bothers me most is that this type of video usually looks very juddery, and it almost looks like a like a stop motion footage. And TV tech has come so far. We're not in the days of CRT TVs anymore, and images have become incredibly crisp. We've got an HDR which make images look lifelike, and yet after all this, people still prefer 24 FPS content, and most movies are still filmed in 24 FPS. And what's so hard to believe is that with all these improvements, the biggest improvement, in my opinion, could still be a higher frame rate standard. And despite this, we're still watching very jittery images which don't look smooth at all. I filmed this video in 60 frames per second, and right now you're viewing it in the original 24 frames per second mode. The Technicolor expert mode should turn off all the added frames to the content, and now we're turning it on with the extra frames added by the television. And in my opinion, if you can see it, because this should be either 60 FPS or 120 FPS, obviously with the frames added by the television, it should look a lot smoother. And if you're really into visuals from TVs, if you're a videophile, in my opinion, the 24 FPS doesn't cut it, because you have to make the decision between viewing the original content, which is 24 FPS, or actually having a smoother image, which mimics real life a lot better. And with this high quality 4K, with these HDR movies, in my opinion, 24 FPS simply doesn't cut it anymore. And I'm not sure if a lot of people agree with me, but cinema mode just looks a lot more smoother with the extra frames added by this television, which obviously is a high-end television, but nonetheless looks so much better than the native 24 FPS content, which looks so jittery, and it just doesn't look very nice, especially considering that the quality of some videos is very high. So, in my opinion, the reason why I haven't used Technicolor expert mode is mostly because the added frames get removed and you're simply viewing native content, which, it just looks very bad, in my opinion, obviously. And I think you should do the same too. Some people may really hate this soap opera effect, as some may call it, but it actually makes footage more realistic. It runs more smoothly and it mimics real life more smoothly. Also for movies, some people may say, it takes me out of the movie experience, but for me, it actually brings you in. It mimics real life more, and it makes a case for more realism. Whereas with 24 FPS, the native frame rate, movies just they look very jittery, and you simply know you're watching a movie. Whereas with these incredibly high quality movies which are coming out, I think a higher frame rate would be the last thing to improve. And personally, I think it's a shame that this TV doesn't have HDMI 2.1, obviously because it was released too soon. But I think 60 FPS or even 120 FPS will be the last big improvement to TVs before they become shockingly real. So why most movies still, well, pretty much every movie still has 24 FPS, and why most videos still film at 24 FPS is a big mystery to me. Obviously, you might consider the bigger amount of storage it needs, because 60 FPS doubles the amount of frames you need. But even with that, I think 60 FPS is simply a much better option. And if you have a high-end TV, you should definitely keep cinema mode or any other mode on, which keeps the added frames to the footage, because most TVs have gotten pretty good at actually creating a smoother video experience. And yeah, I get that some people are purists and don't like this native FPS, 24 FPS or 60 FPS footage, which is created by the television itself. But in my opinion, it beats the native 24 FPS footage, because yeah, it just looks so jittery. And if you can see it from this video, the footage should have become more like a stop motion video instead of an actual high quality video. And the jittering is, some people may not even notice it, but for me, the jittering is a very big issue. And obviously, everything gets used to, but once you've actually experienced a good TV's processing power, then your default, preference might actually change from the native 24 FPS to just the 60 or 100 hertz display technology which TV has built in. And in my opinion, the extra added frames make for a smoother video and a more watchable video than the native 24 hertz 24 frames per second video. So I hope you've enjoyed this this little rant of me about 24 frames per second. But I was just thinking about all the improvements we've made in TV tech, and yet even with 4K, HDR, even 8K coming out, we're still stuck in this 24 frames per second mindset, which in my opinion keeps us back from achieving extremely realistic video. Like I've said in the video before, some HDR movies may look great, but in my opinion, the best content you can find is you should visit the channel made by Jacob and Katie Swartz, which has 4K HDR and 60 FPS footage, which looks so incredibly crisp. And you might obviously say, yeah, it's compressed, but the higher amount of frames actually is a more important deal than the compression which YouTube has. So in my opinion, some 60 FPS 4K HDR movies videos on YouTube actually look better than the best HDR movies on Blu-ray, which is a pretty big deal, but okay. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for my next videos. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.